Vanilla tobacco blend. I wonder what that's trying to copy. So yes, good morning. It is that time of the week again, fitness fragrance review time. You can probably see from the sun coming through, it's probably not a day where you'd expect to be wearing a vanilla tobacco type phrase because it is super warm outside. But that is what we are going to do today. It is called Vanilla Tobacco Blend, and it's actually, I think the brand's called Fragrance Couture. It doesn't say it on there, it just says France. But of course, when you see those two notes, or when you see that as part of the name of the fragrance, you're thinking of tobacco vanille. And what I've looked at from online, it says this fragrance is inspired by tobacco vanille, so it's essentially a bit of a clone of it. Now, if you haven't seen my fitness fragrance reviews before, essentially what I'm going to do today, I'm going to do a morning workout. So I'm going to go for a run, all to the gym, do a gym workout, walk back, all while reviewing this fragrance. We're going to rank it on 5 categories. So price / value for money, its versatility, so how much essentially you can use it in different situations, its projections, how much I'm noticing it on my run. We'll do a room spray test, see how much the fragrance fills up a room later. We'll also look at compliment factor, so would people say nice things about it if they smell it, and then its longevity, where I'll spray miles before I go to the gym, and we'll just see if we can still smell the fragrance. Essentially, once I've left and had a shower, it'll be about 3 hours that will go by. Now, there are many tobacco vanille fragrances out there. There's absolutely loads, and I've reviewed a few. I've got one actually right in front of me here, Noted Aromas Havana. Very, very good clone, really good clone of tobacco vanille. Only thing I've found with a lot of tobacco vanille type fragrances, the vanilla note doesn't smell as good as the actual real fragrance. The tobacco isn't particularly as prominent. I always think when you think of tobacco vanille, the vanilla is actually the strong bit in that, and then the spices kind of sit in the background. The vanilla is so good in tobacco vanille. I just think some of the others, the clones, have been quite synthetic. So I'm looking forward to seeing how this one gets on today, because as I said, it's got to do something that breaks the mold, because there's so many out there. What does this one do? What can this one offer that makes me think this is the clone of tobacco vanille I need to get? So we're going to quickly go into the note breakdown, and I'll tell you what is in this fragrance. Okay, so I'm going to spray this one again. I've written all the notes on a post-it note. Yeah, that's the groundbreaking technology I've got to so far in 2026. So let's just spray a little bit more on. Okay, and from the initial sort of smells of this, I'm not really getting tobacco vanille at all. Now, it says inspired by. Normally, I think of that being a clone, but now I'm starting to change my mind, because that doesn't smell like tobacco vanille at all for me. It kind of smells more like a Middle Eastern type fragrance. Yeah, that is not tobacco vanille. So let's have a little look at the notes, and let's see maybe why I'm saying that. There's something in this though. It's definitely not tobacco vanille. Anyway, let's look at the top notes. Top notes here: tobacco leaf and spices. There's quite a lot of spice in this, and it's definitely the tobacco here that is more prominent, far more prominent than vanilla. And it's kind of like, how can I best describe it? It's not like a smoky tobacco. It's not like tar or anything like that. It's very much that pipe tobacco. There's so many of them. Those sort of vanillic caramel fragrances, like a Ferragamo Uomo. Not so strong like a coffee note or anything like that here, but it's very generic. It's very, very generic of a youthful night out type fragrance that you get many of these days. This could almost be a flanker of an Azaro Wanted by Night, almost wanted. It's kind of got more that vibe. And it's actually the middle where the vanilla comes in. Vanilla, cacao, tonka bean, and tobacco blossom. Now, I think it's the actual tonka bean here that's playing quite a prominent role. And definitely a bit of that cacao. It's kind of got more of a chocolatey edge. I don't think of tobacco vanilla ever having any sort of chocolate notes in this. This isn't a clone. I can already say now, this is a phrase I've never smelled before until a minute ago. This is definitely not a clone of tobacco vanilla. It may be tobacco vanilla blend, which is the name. It's just exactly what it is. But the chocolate here does feel quite prominent. And then we look at the base, it's got dried fruits and woods. It doesn't specifically say what woods they are, but I think there could be a bit of sandalwood in there because there's this kind of sparkling edge to the fragrance. I'm not particularly getting any certain fruits from this. I'm just getting a real basic, generic type fragrance. A very generic 20, 30-year-old sort of person's night out fragrance. There's nothing groundbreaking about this. And if you smell these sort of fragrances before, you'll know exactly what I mean. It's very much in that mould of like a Ferragamo Uomo. Certainly use it in the same situation. There was one called Zara called Unexplored Noir. It reminds me a little bit of that one. And yeah, a little bit disappointed, I must admit. But let's see how it gets on. It's not an unpleasant smell. It's just a little bit boring. It maybe just wasn't what I was expecting initially. But what we're going to do, we're going to head out from a run now, and we'll do the first 2 categories during this workout. So we'll talk about its price / value for money, and its versatility. I'll see you out there. And we are off, and it is another absolutely gorgeous morning and perfect to be out running doing a fitness fragrance review. And the one we are looking at today is this Vanilla Tobacco Blend by Fragrance Couture. Now I think I need to just say before I go into price value for money, I almost need to backtrack a little bit because I felt I sounded a little bit negative in the opening of my video today, just because when I was reading about this fragrance online, it was obviously saying it's inspired by tobacco vanille, so I had this preconceived idea this was going to be a clone. I don't think it is. I don't think it's meant to be, and I don't really get any of that tobacco vanille element other than the fact, you know, obviously tobacco and vanilla are in it, and there's some additional notes thrown in. So I think I need to be a little bit fairer with this fragrance today if I'm not viewing it as a tobacco vanille clone now. So let's talk about price value for money. So you can get this one on Amazon and eBay, mainly eBay, and the price for a 100ml bottle of this seems to be arranged between sort of £8 to £12. Now, do I think that's good value for money? I really do. I really do. And now, of course, one of the things in the name of this fragrance, other than tobacco and vanilla, is blend. And the first thing that's really stuck out to me here is the blend is really good. As we said, there's a few more notes in it. It's not just tobacco and vanilla. I do particularly pick up a few other spices in there, definitely some sparkling woods, but also as well that cacao, that chocolate element to the fragrance, which is what makes me think this isn't a clone of tobacco vanille. And overall, yes, has it made it smell like a very generic men's fragrance? Absolutely. There's a lot of night out, date night type fragrances that smell like this, or certainly can be used in the same situations. However, it may be generic, and it may not smell the highest quality. You know, the notes don't smell really natural in this, but actually overall, it's blended together to make a very comfortable, easy to pull off, youthful men's fragrance. And there's nothing wrong with that. And certainly when you're paying this price, I don't think you can complain. I said earlier, Ferragamo Uomo, it's kind of that similar genre of fragrance, I would say. But of course, you're paying a fraction of the price. And if you said to me I could get 3 of these or 4 of these for the price of one Ferragamo Uomo, would I go for this? I probably would. As I said, the quality's definitely not as good, but it's not really harsh. It doesn't feel like there's any real strong synthetic elements to the fragrance that are going to burn your nostrils. It's not divisive. And again, on a cool winter's day, you could definitely wear this one at home. We'll obviously talk about versatility next. Or you could wear it as a kind of signature scent for the cooler days, cooler months. And I think overall, if you're paying that sort of price, you can't really complain with that. Look, again, it's not groundbreaking. It's not one that makes you think, I have to get this. But if you've got it, and you know that you're getting a nice, easy to pull off winter fragrance, I don't think you'd be too disappointed with the price you're paying here. I think I'd happily pay £15 to £20 for this fragrance. So I'd say the price that's paid for money is above average. And for that reason, I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. Again, not groundbreaking, quite generic, quite youthful, but overall well blended. No dominating notes in this that make you feel like it's overpowering the rest of the fragrance. And yeah, it doesn't feel like it's cheaply put together. Certainly not for a price of £10. So yeah, 9 out of 10. Well, this is take 2 of the versatility clip, because you may have just heard kind of in the background of that video then, yeah, there's a guy who was very drunk before I was talking to him, and he ended up just sort of shouting at me, and he seems to be shouting at everyone that goes by, and so I think I'll keep running this way for now. But let's talk about versatility. As I was just trying to touch upon, this fragrance reminds me of 2 I have owned, and it's not really Ferragamo Uomo. I've been racking my brains for the last few minutes, but which one does it remind me of? And some of you may have had Lynx Chocolate when you're at school as a body spray, and there's also one called Axe Dark Temptation. They're kind of the same fragrance essentially. It's definitely got vibes of that, and it also has vibes of the Chiali fragrance, one that I've got a clone of called Vanilla Royale Sugared Patchouli, and it's definitely got that vibe, that kind of more darkness about it, rather than that vanilla heavy type scent that you'd associate more with tobacco vanille, where the spices take more of a back seat. But let's talk about versatility then. How versatile is this fragrance? How much can you use this in different situations? Well, look, it's certainly more suited to a younger person. I'm being stereotypical. I see this as a young male, someone in maybe their 35 and under, I would say, more so than an older gentleman over 40, who maybe likes to go on some nights out, likes to impress, or just wants something quite calm and quite relaxing at home. Normally these sort of phrases can be quite loud, can be quite heavy, But this one, where maybe it is a little bit cheaper, it certainly isn't too strong. That might be obviously the fact it's got more woods in it, so it's got a bit of tonka bean. They're not really strong heavy notes, and maybe that's just tamed and smoothed off the edges of the tobacco and the vanilla, which can be quite strong, and even cacao can be in some fragrances. This is definitely not heavy, and that means you can definitely wear it more in office situations. You can wear it in the springtime on a cool spring day, and just cold weather in general. It's definitely more of a night out fragrance, but you can wear these fragrances any gourmand type scent. You know, you can dress them up, dress them down casually in those colder weather, climate controlled environments. Now, again, I always say this for a lot of fragrances. Could this be my signature scent? Yes, for the winter, but it's not one that I think I'm going to want on its own. A day like today, where the weather is definitely warming up, and by the time I leave the gym this morning, it's going to be really warm. I'm going to want a citrus-based fragrance. This one's going to be a bit too heavy, a bit too sickly. Even though it's not strong, it's sweet, and I don't really want a sweet fragrance on those hot summer days. It doesn't give me those vacation vibes, let's say. So while I think it's very good and it can be your winter fragrance, you're going to want something else to complement it. And I still think an older gentleman wants something a little bit more grown up, because it is a bit juvenile, a bit more playful. It's not got that serious element. So I'm going to say for this one, versatility is not bad. It's probably better than, say, a tobacco vanille, because the fact it's not as sweet and not as heavy. So I'm going to give it a slightly higher score than I probably was going to originally. We'll go 7 out of 10. Again, great fragrance. I'm really enjoying it. The blend does smell really good, but I definitely want a lighter fragrance to complement this in those warmer days. It is sweltering out there now. It is so hot. It's like 25 Celsius already. And that means it's time to talk about projection then. How much are we noticing this fragrance when we're spraying it in the air? Is it really kicking off my skin? Was it kicking off my top when I was running? Well, before we talk about that, while I have my drink downstairs, we're going to do a room spray test. So I've done 10 sprays. Essentially, what I'm going to do, give it 10 minutes, come back upstairs, see how much this fragrance has filled up a room. So if this was an office, would a colleague notice it? Obviously, I'm at home with a family member, pick up that I'm wearing a fragrance. But what we'll do now, we'll head downstairs. We'll talk about projection during my run. So how much did I actually notice the fragrance? Also going to very quickly, it's just about 20 past 9, just spray my arms. This is for my test for longevity later. So in 3 hours time when I leave the gym, can I still detect the fragrance? But let's head downstairs and talk about projection during my run. That was really hard work. Projection then, how much did I notice the fragrance? Did the fragrance help get me through my run then during that workout? To be honest, I only noticed it once, and that was literally when I was about to sneeze like this. And obviously where I sprayed it on my arm earlier, I could detect it then. But in terms of actually any projection, it wasn't there. I didn't notice it at all. Now I'm going to give it a little bit of credit here. It's a very hot day. It's a cheap fragrance. I'm not expecting it to have the quality oils that are going to maybe last a long time. And as I touched upon earlier, one thing I can really say is positive of this, it doesn't smell overly synthetic. Because sometimes those harsh synthetics can actually become quite cloying, and it definitely didn't do that at all. The blend feels really good in this fragrance. I do like it for that reason. But yeah, in terms of projection, I don't think, even if it was a cooler day, even if it's not a workout fragrance, we probably also just need to emphasize that, I don't think it's going to really last. I think if you're sitting in an office for a period of time, maybe people will notice it. I normally say vanilla is quite a strong note, and it clings into the air quite well. Vanilla's not as prominent in this fragrance. I'm not sure it's going to really fill up a room either. It does feel quite soft in terms of its performance. Even though it is an eau de parfum, it doesn't feel like it has the real strong quality oils that are really going to fill a room. Maybe someone's next to you, singing next to you for a period of time, I think it'd be fine. But we're going to just finish my drink quickly, and then I'll head upstairs, and yeah, we'll talk about projection and how much it has filled up a room before we give a score. Okay, so up we go. Let's see what we can detect. Oh, my legs feel a bit better today. I have to say, since coming back from holiday, up in the running again, has made my legs feel a bit achy, a bit tight. Right, in we go. Yeah, no. There's nothing. There is absolutely nothing. It's underwhelming because, again, I think with the notes in this fragrance, you could expect a little bit more. But I do also have to, again, reiterate, I counter that with the fact I'm glad it's not cloying, overly synthetic feeling as well. This, for me, is going to be more of a supplementary fragrance to maybe some of those other winter ones you have. Again, it's got that similar vibe to a lot of fragrances. So you could definitely have this as a top-up spray at work. But if you're wanting this to be your all-day type fragrance, going to get you through the day, I'm not sure this is it. But I do have to also say, it is hot and that's not the weather it's most suited to. I'm going to give projection quite a low score here though, because again, I expect more strength from weaker, or winter fragrances, let's say, even though it is cheap. So I'm going to sort of be a little bit better than maybe the bottom end. I'm going to go 5. Let's go for that. I said I'm kind of thinking this one on the fly. I've never smelled this fragrance before, so I've had no preconceived ideas. I'm only going to use this as a top-up spray. I certainly wouldn't be using it as something more than that. But at home, it'd be absolutely fine. But if I want that projection for other people to notice, this isn't the one. But we're going to head to the gym now. We'll talk about projection. We've already spoken about projection. This run, this heat, has actually worn me out a lot. We're talking about compliment factor. So when I get outside, we'll talk about that. Okay, so moving on to compliment factor then for tobacco and vanilla blend. Do I think this is a compliment getting sent? Well, look, I'd probably say, and I always ask myself this, what would I compliment someone on? Would I compliment someone on this? I probably wouldn't, just because it is so recognisable. It's such a familiar smell, and if you end up wearing the same shirt every day, nobody's going to go, oh, that looks really nice, because it just becomes part of you essentially. And I feel like within the fragrance industry, this scent has essentially become that. It's become so familiar that it's almost going to lose compliments. Now, look, does it have huge mass appeal? Yes, it does. But I think the only reason I would potentially, or I always compliment people, is because I'll tend to go, you smell nice, what is that? And it tends to be because I think I want to get that for myself. This doesn't really have that, and it doesn't have enough sort of kick about it, enough strength in its performance to make up for maybe those limitations in being a little bit more generic. So while I think it can be obviously a compliment getting sent because it has that mass appeal, that's why there are so many of these sort of clone fragrances out there. And again, vanilla based fragrances are so popular at the minute, they almost become a bit too samey, and I think that's where this one would fall down, because it is so easy to wear. I think if you are someone who's maybe a little bit younger, 18, 19, 20, it feels right for that sort of person, but it may not necessarily get the comments associated with it, even if people do think you smell nice. So that's what I'm going to say with this one. I think it's going to get, again, it's got mass appeal, which means it will get a high score for compliments. So I'm going to go 8 out of 10. Again, if this was the very first of its kind that come out, I'd probably go, oh yeah, that is hugely massive, being 9, 10 out of 10. But it feels like everyone's kind of jumped on this bandwagon of this scent profile, this scent DNA, and it kind of gets lost a bit in the pack. But of course, if we do get into the gym today, I can't really smell it too much at the minute, if I'm being honest with you, but we would bump it up to a 10. So there we are, workout done. It's just gone 12:15, which means it's been just under 3 hours since I applied this fragrance. Can we still smell tobacco and vanilla blend? I keep getting them the wrong way around. I'm not quite sure which order it comes, but essentially this tobacco vanilla fragrance. Let's give it a smell. Yeah, it's one of them. It's probably kind of showing its price range a little bit now. I can kind of smell it on my right arm, not at all on my left arm. It's about 10 to 15% as strong as it was when I applied it a few hours ago. Now, I did get a little bit warmer today, as I must stress. It isn't a workout fragrance either, and I've just had quite a warm shower. So do I think it would be a little bit stronger and maybe get you through most of the day? Probably so, but I think even by sort of say 6-7 hours, it's going to be very much only you that can smell it. If you bury your nose into your skin, into your arm, it's not going to be one that other people are going to notice. I still think this would be best almost as a supporting fragrance to maybe, just chuck in your gym bag to make yourself smell nice for the rest of the day. But of course, I think this is one that personally I think could be a great gift. Again, it's nothing too pricey, nothing too expensive, but it has that huge mass appeal, which a younger person who maybe, I said, they're starting to get into wearing better clothes, doing their hair a bit more, it could be a good entry level fragrance for those sort of winter sweet type scents, because there's nothing divisive about it. And again, it is pleasant. I've enjoyed wearing it today. It's certainly not right for this type of condition. Maybe if I was wearing this one more in the winter time, I probably maybe would have given it higher marks, but I don't think it's ever going to be one that's going to particularly excite me and make me think I must get that, because there's just so many vanilla, tobacco, chocolate type fragrances out there, and this just feels like another one, albeit for a very good price. But what we'll do, I need to give a score, don't I? I haven't given a score for longevity. It can't be high, can it? So I think based on the fact it does have a lot of sweet notes that can be quite strong in it, I'm not going to give it a very high mark here. I'm going to give it a 3 out of 10. Again, I think it could have packed a little bit more of a punch. It feels more like an eau de cologne than an eau de parfum. I just think it could have had a little bit more kick about it. Maybe a little bit stronger on the vanilla, would have just given it that extra performance. But again, I've had worse, I've smelt worse, so I don't want to be too harsh on it today because the weather is nice and I'm still in a good mood. But when we head back, we'll count up all the scores. I'll give my overall thoughts. There we are, another workout done. I feel pretty good today, certainly more awake than I did at this time yesterday when I did my last review, but it's 1:35. I've done 42,205 steps, all while wearing, I've been saying it the wrong way around most of the day, but it's Vanilla Tobacco Blend by Fragrance Couture. It doesn't actually have the name of the brand on the bottle, but that's not really what matters today. It's about how it smelled and how it scored out of 50. Ultimately, it did okay, not groundbreaking. Got 32 out of 50, which feels quite low compared to some of the scores I've given recently. I think probably the main thing I've kind of marked it down on really is ultimately the longevity. Only got 3 out of 10, which is pretty low. And it's how can I best describe it? It's just a little bit boring. That's the main thing. It doesn't fill up a room. The projection's not great. Longevity's not great. And because it's such a recognisable smell, it just doesn't feel like it's got anything about it that makes you think, I've got to go get this one. That's the cheapie I really want. There's so many scents that copy this DNA, chocolate, vanilla, tobacco. It just smells like everything else. And I know I've said that a lot in this video. I suppose the main selling point of it and the main thing I would say is the blend is really good. And for the price, not really going to lose too much from this. It's £10 and it smells good. But I think I've sounded quite negative on it today. But there's nothing wrong with it. It does smell very pleasant, very nice. And as you would have just seen, I've sprayed it on myself, I've smelled my arm, and I'm not going, oh, I'm going to sneeze or anything. So it hasn't got this sharp alcoholic blast or anything like that. It just lacks a bit of wow factor, and that is all. It's just purely a copy of everything else, and that's fine. Again, it's got its place. For me, touched upon this, if I'm going to buy it again, or if I'm going to buy it until this is actually my brother's one, it's going to just go in my work bag, in my car. Perfect for that coming out the gym. Perfect for that, particularly in those cooler months. Wearing it at home, absolutely fine. Great. A gift for someone, I think they're going to be quite happy with this. Again, it's a nice looking bottle, I think. I don't normally talk about presentation, but it's a plastic cap. There's nothing too high quality about it, but they're going to be happy with this. This smells very pleasant, very nice, and something I can see a late teens, early 20s person really enjoying, maybe if they're going to university as well. So, yeah, that's all I can say. I think the score is probably about fair. Again, some people are going to say this is a brilliant sort of easy to pull off type of fragrance if you want it for those occasions. For me, I just wanted something to kind of excite me a little bit more, because I think in 2, 3, 4 years time, if I'm still doing these reviews, I'll even forget I've tried this fragrance. I'll look back and go, I don't even remember that one. And that's what I just feel. It has got no real memorable qualities about it, but that doesn't mean it's bad. It's just, as someone who really likes fragrances, I just wanted a little bit more. But yeah, happy to have tried this one today, and yeah, hopefully if you are interested, I hope I haven't sort of put you off it too much, because it does smell good. So yeah, if you want just a safe, easy winter fragrance, yeah, have a look at this one, and we'll have a look at this brand in a little bit more detail. But yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this one today. I'll have to have a little look as well about what fragrances to review tomorrow, or maybe a different type of video. I've got some ideas in mind, but whatever I plan, hopefully you'll enjoy that one when it comes up soon. Thanks for watching. Catch you later.